I'm studying professional wrestling as performance, and one of the things I'm particularly interested in is the way that professional wrestling can be understood in a theatrical sense. So the way that we can break it down and we can understand things like staging and audiences and the scripting and character development. It's a matter of sort of looking at it as I would do a stage play or something like that, and giving the same sort of due credence and due consideration to the professional wrestling form. I suppose the major difference is understanding it as what Wrestling Resurgence terms as art house wrestling. So this is about putting wrestling in arts venues and working out what happens when you do that. The way the characters that we encourage to be part of the shows, the people that Wrestling Resurgence employs to be part of the shows, the wrestlers themselves, are all kind of interested in this art form. So that's been a really interesting dynamic to bring all these people together and to try and help these wrestlers really to understand their own work in this sort of arts context as well.
Obviously there's a big artistic presence on this show, like with the lighting in here and just the attention to detail as far as the aesthetics. Like, we built the ring here today, and they brought in a new canvas just for this show. They asked us to tape the ropes up pink, and it was just like a bit of a different aesthetic. Like, they pay a lot of attention to things like that, so you could tell it's more like a artistic vision behind this rather than coming from like wrestling promoters or circus promoters or any of that kind of thing.
So if we'd done this study maybe 30 years ago or something like that, I think it would have been a really different project. I'm not entirely sure that it would have been a project actually, because I think if you were to look back on that the kind of golden years of professional wrestling in Britain, sort of 70s when it's on World of Sport and things like that, I think that would have been quite a different thing. I think they're very keen on maintaining the fiction of the business, that actually what you see is real life in some way. I think they would have been very keen on maintaining that, whereas in Wrestling Resurgence, there is an openness. There's a sense, I actually want to discuss my practice with you, and actually in doing so, I'm much more aware, more appreciative of the practice that I watch than I was, say, in the 70s, where I thought they were actually hurting each other. Actually, now I can see there's something much more beautiful about it than I ever realised then. Professional wrestling is definitely a physical art. I think that absolutely defines it, because in the way that I would kind of understand figure skating as a physical art and love watching it at the Winter Olympics, and it's just, there's something beautiful about it, two people working together and collaborating on the performance. Actually, wrestling is much more like that than it is like a combat sport, for example, or boxing.
It's the same as, you can liken it to absolutely anything from Shakespeare to a Spider-Man film. It's the same formula. There's good versus evil, and there's an obstacle that the good guy has to overcome. Like with us, it's an easy story because we're two 25-stone guys and we're the bad guys. So, you know, generally that kind of explains itself.
I hope that Wrestling Resurgence has been a help to the wrestlers that have been part of that process, you know, been part of the product, and that they've actually been able to sit back and think, actually, yeah, we are a legitimate art form playing legitimate arts venues. And I hope I think it has. I hope that that's been a real encouragement to the wrestlers that have entertained us for so many years and that we respect so much, that allowing them or enabling them to come into these new spaces, I hope has been exciting for them.